Tomorrow is Black Friday, but how different is it likely to be compared to when the phenomenon started in South Africa some 10 years ago or so? What are people likely to spend their hard-earned cash on? Which retail sectors will benefit the most? This happens at a time when consumers have been under serious financial pressure. There's a feeling that some two-pot withdrawal funds may be spent during this time and the festive season, but only the benefit of hindsight will give us a clearer picture. To give us a historical recap on the evolution of Black Friday in South Africa and what trends we're likely to see this year, I'm joined by Tumelo Ramugondo. He's the head of credit at Standard Bank. Thank you very much, Tumelo, for joining us. So Black Friday is clearly a highly anticipated retail event because of the discounted prices that customers can benefit. But just take us down memory lane around how it's evolved over the years and the growth of online shopping as well.
Good afternoon to you and to the listeners. If you just think back to when sort of Black Friday first launched around 2010, would sort of take a lot taking the lead on it. It wasn't, I guess, to the sort of scales that we talk about today, but I think it was probably around the time around 2012 when the brick and mortar stores came online, where we then saw sort of major uplift. And I think the midnight game specials that they also introduced back in the days also saw, I think, South Africans starting to sort of warm up to this phenomenon. And over the last, I would say, 10 years or so, it sort of grew strength through strength from year to year until almost around COVID times. And I think in those days, what we then observed was potentially, I guess, the rise of online shopping, with sort of retailers sort of starting to spread Black Friday into sort of almost Black November, where you then get deals pretty much for the entire month just to try and manage traffic during that timeline. But also, it was also the time that we saw significant growth on online shopping because a lot of retailers started offering these deals on their online platforms, and we can see that consumers have definitely taken to online shopping. But I must say last year was quite an interesting year, given that, the COVID-19 was sort of behind us, but we still saw that there was still significant, for example, growth on online shopping with almost 17% growth based on the data that we see on Standard Bank cards. But at the same time, if you look at the data from our sister sort of company, Liberty 2 Degrees, you can also see that from people physically going to stores, we almost saw almost a 40% increase there as well, with people actually going back for Black Friday deals. So I think just given where we're starting to find ourselves, you can see that people are starting to actually go back to the physical shops to look for Black Friday deals. But based on the growth, I think that we saw during Black Friday, you can also see that a lot more consumers are also still taking advantage of the online shopping, maybe avoiding queues in the stores, etc., and they are going for those deals. But retailers are offering deals pretty much in both online and physical stores. So consumers have got a choice in terms of how do they actually want to shop during Black Friday.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for that recap. Now, in terms of this year, 2024, you say 2023 was a very good year and you gave us the stats, but what do you anticipate? I mean, of course, the landscape is somewhat different. We've just begun to experience the interest rate cuts. Inflation is lower. Some people have tapped onto their two-pot retirement savings. Yeah. But, of course, people are still heavily indebted. What is the anticipation for this year, and what have you been seeing thus far? Because, of course, Black Friday starts at the beginning of November. Yeah.
No. So 2024, in our view, is still going to be a difficult year for most consumers. You reference, for example, the interest rate cuts that we've seen. The reality is it takes a little bit of time before you can actually really see the impact of the interest rate cuts. So consumers are definitely getting relief, but I think that will take a little bit more time before we can really see that translating to sort of disposable cash that the consumers can actually go out and use. At the same time, you also talk about the two-pot. Definitely, I think we have seen, and just based on the media reports, significant withdrawals on the two-pot systems. The effect of that on Black Friday, I think, still remains to be seen, because this will be the first Black Friday where we see the two-pot systems. But that being said, I can say that even if you look at our internal Standard Bank data, you can see that October, which is the previous month, was actually a significantly high transacting month if you were to compare to the previous year. And that then starts bringing the question of to what effect is the two-pot system starting to come through in terms of the spend that the consumers are doing. So we are expecting that there will be spend this Black Friday. We still think that consumers will still be spending mostly on essentials. So items like, groceries and clothing, we still believe that will probably still account potentially for half of the spend. And then there will still be, I think, the electronics and all those things. But you can see a decline of people spending in those categories over the years. And only those that potentially has significant disposable income will be able to exercise those.
All right, Tumelo, thank you very much for your time and insights there. Tumelo Ramugondo, he's the head of credit at Standard Bank.